Well, welcome. Welcome, Janet. Let's chant the mystical syllable Om. Our body's a musical instrument that we play through our intention and our consciousness. And with Om, we're invited to chant Ah to the source, O to manifestation, and to dissolution back to the source. Mother, Maiden, Crone. And we want to chant loud, and we want to bring our attention into the heart to create a feedback loop of awareness. So with great love to this great mystery, we chant the mystical syllable Om 7 times. Welcome to our home, and welcome to this 6-week series in Energy as Medicine, an opportunity for personal growth and also professional training in energy balancing and natural healing principles. This morning I'm first going to do an introduction to the course and an introduction to mantra yoga, and then we'll talk about our safety agreements and intention, and we'll have a check-in, and then I'll do a demonstration of a sattvic energy balancing session where we work with stillness and presence to promote a state of soul communion. Our first focus this morning is a couple of disclosures. First of all, nobody really knows anything about anything. Neither scientist nor sage. Let's say both scientists and sage can merely speculate on this human condition, where we've come from, where we're going, ultimately what we're made of, and most importantly what we're doing here. It is a great and wondrous mystery that anything is or that we are. So it's from a humble place of contemplation and speculation that I offer this to you. And these questions are very personal. Spirituality is very personal. We all have a unique journey and a unique vocabulary. So please take anything I say with a grain of salt. You're always welcome to ask questions, to challenge me in any way. The questions you have are the questions that everyone will have. So you become part of the group intelligence, helping us all to go deeper in our understanding when you raise these questions. But I do offer you the fruit of a little over a half century of contemplation of these questions of, yes, what am I doing here? Secondly, I tend to be a Hindu chauvinist. That's the tradition that's helped me the most in my pursuit of this understanding. And so I'll be using concepts and imagery from that tradition, but please understand I offer this with a deep respect for each of our journey and how unique it is and how personal our vocabulary and our fabric of experience is. So feel free to really trust what you know and what you've experienced and what you understand, and don't let what I'm saying take away from your own realizations and your own personal experience. The important thing in this game is the evolution of your consciousness, and I hope that what we're doing here contributes to that. And just realize that anything that I know or say about Hinduism or that body of wisdom is done against a great horizon of ignorance. I didn't grow up in the culture. I don't speak the languages. So if you know different things about these concepts, realize your understanding is at least as valid as mine, maybe more so. It's a very rich culture, and I know very, very little of it. So Just because I talk about a few things doesn't really mean I know anything else, or that I even know what I'm talking about.
Now wait a minute. You know something. Too much
I
disclosure.
I can be humbler than thou.
Ability to afford.
I know you want your money back after that disclosure. But seriously, it's a vast, vast culture, and each way of seeing illuminates some aspects of it and also blinds us to some other aspects.
Yeah.
So we offer that with a great humility. We're beginning this morning with a form of music therapy which has been called mantra yoga. It's much, much more than music therapy. Mantra literally means to protect the mental instrument. I think of a Navajo sage who was here. He said, these songs are the shields to protect our warriors' hearts. And each of us, on some level, is a warrior in this struggle between light and darkness, the parts of us that want to have faith when we expand, and the parts of us that are vulnerable and afraid and wounded. So these songs are the shields for protecting our hearts so that we can cultivate this protection. So again, mantra comes from the same root as man or woman, the Sanskrit root manas, which is the root of our word mind, like in woman or man. And it's again to protect the mental instrument. The mantras that we're sharing are in Sanskrit, which is called the perfected language, or Devanagari, the language of the gods. It's a language in which the letters of the alphabet lay out the full spectrum of sounds that we can make with the lips and the palate and the mouth. The full spectrum of sounds that we are capable of making as human beings are contained in this language. And it's also a psychoactive language, that the language is so in tune with consciousness and so in tune with nature that it creates these states of consciousness. Again, the language of the gods. Now, if you've ever studied yoga, hatha yoga, one of the things they tell you in that foundation class is that yoga is based upon a philosophy called Sankhya. And Sankhya is said to be the oldest, most coherent discourse that we have. Okay, Sankhya means to enumerate, and enumerates the play of consciousness, the steps through which an ocean of life, an ocean of consciousness, an ocean of intelligence steps down into this appearance of the world as we know it. And so it enumerates the principles and the steps that explain, that hopefully attempt to explain some of the dynamics of how consciousness sustains this appearance of form. And it's Sankhya is said to be the basis of all Oriental philosophy. It was carried by Bodhidharma to China and Vietnam, Cambodia, and Japan. All these countries still chant in Sanskrit because these teachings were carried from ancient India over between 2,000 and 3,000 years ago. And Sankhya is that root philosophy that is at the basis of, some say, all Oriental philosophy. And in the first sloka of the Sankhya teachings from the sage Kapila is reputed with formulating this. In the first sloka, we're told that the purpose of this knowledge is not to get a better job like today, or even the classic Western European love of learning. That the purpose of this knowledge is the total, the final, the complete, the permanent annihilation of suffering. You hear that? Total, final, complete, permanent annihilation of suffering. That is the promise of this body of knowledge that we're contemplating. And in this understanding, this word dukkha, which is translated, the Sanskrit word dukkha is translated as a bad state of mind. And it's usually translated as suffering. But if you go to Thailand, it's translated as alienation. If you go to Tibet, it's translated as disenchantment. If you come to America, it's translated maybe as guilt, or shame, or terror, or fear, or inadequacy, or insecurity, self-loathing, self-hatred. Do you hear that? That what we're talking about, all these states of mind that all of us are inundated with, the anxiety, the fear, the vulnerability, the terror, the insecurity, the guilt, the shame, the self-hatred that we all deal with at different times in our life to different degrees. That this philosophy promises these sages, in their sincerity and their knowledge and their experience of working with this body of knowledge, these sages promise you the total, the final, the complete, the permanent annihilation of your suffering. And in this understanding, the root of our suffering is a condition of ignorance. Do you hear that? It's no original sin. It's nothing we ever did. It's a condition of ignorance. And it's a condition of ignorance of our divinity. A condition of ignorance of the sacredness and unity of all life and the divinity of the life that blossoms and flowers through you and I. So I'm going to be talking about one thing over the next 6 weeks in 1,000 different ways. The unity and divinity of all life, and the unity and the divinity of the life that lives through you and as you. And everything we're doing here is to further your communion with unitive consciousness and your recognition of this communion as your natural state.